What's going on, guys? Jackson here. Welcome back to this week's video. Today I want to talk to you guys about how I created an app for the iOS store and the Google Play Store. Back in 2018, around Christmas time, I remember playing the game Catchphrase with my family. One of the comments that my dad made is, this game is really great, but we play this game so much that we run through the words really quickly. It'd be great if we could just buy like an extension pack in an app. I thought this was a really great idea. I went to the App Store and it turns out that there were existing copies of this that did something similar, except this seemed like a really good challenge to myself if I could pull something like this off.
See your future. Be your future.
I then fired up Android Studio and began coding the app. Around the March timeframe, I released it in the Google Play Store and it actually did pretty well. I say well with a little grain of salt because it had about 1,000 downloads, but I saw that people were really using the app. I already got emails from people saying that it was really great. They loved using it, and it was a great way that they were able to save money without buying the physical game.
I do very little.
Around the April timeframe, I really wanted to start porting the app to iOS. With the app only being coded in Java for Android, I knew I had to come up with a new solution. I then found out about a cross-platform framework called Flutter. This was a perfect opportunity for me to be able to take my app and be able to deploy it to both solutions. I think it should also be mentioned that in order to create an app for the Android Play Store, it is a one-time fee of $25 for creating an initial account. After you've done that, there's no other cost associated with it. Apple, on the other hand, likes to play by their own rules, and they charge you, wait for it, $99 per year that you have an active Apple development account.
I feel like $100.
In the grand scheme of things, you'll see that this investment really actually paid off over time. However, at the time, I was actually really afraid that I was going to lose money on this, but I thought the risk was worth the reward. After I had the app developed in Flutter, I did need a Hackintosh or some sort of Mac in order to build the application for iOS, since you can't build iOS apps on a Windows or a Linux PC. I was able to install OS Mojave on my old Intel machine, which worked out really well, and I was able to use that as a build environment for all the compiling for the app for iOS store. And if I'm going too far over your head, don't worry, all the technical talk is just about over. I just wanted to clear that out of the way in case anybody was interested. Around the September timeframe, I released the app to the iOS store and something very interesting happened. My goal with releasing the app is I wanted to have two versions of the app. I wanted to have a free version that had a list of decks that you could play, and then have a pro version that had more decks the users could play, but also have things like no ads to create your own custom decks, and also being able to import text documents into the app and use them as word lists. I wasn't really making this app because I wanted to make money. I was doing it more as a proof of concept to myself, but then the app ended up doing pretty well. Once I saw this app was getting more traction in the iOS store, I then did put advertisements on there in just a couple spots to see how much ad revenue I could really get from this. I still wanted to be able to make some sort of revenue off the application for the free version, but if I don't put ads on there, then essentially it's not profitable.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
And totaling just from iOS, today is February 14th, 2020, and I have made $128.40 just off ad revenue. When we look at the same metrics for the Android side, we do see that it's a little bit lower. However, that makes more sense because I only had about 1,000 downloads on Android. However, we're still seeing $70.90, which is really good. Once again, this was just the free version with the ads. I also did have a paid version that featured more functionality and it gave the user more decks. It also gave them the ability to create custom decks. Looking at our Apple Analytics, you can see that I had almost 90,000 impressions. And for a free app that I didn't pay any money in advertising for, caveat, you can see that I had over an 8% conversion rate, which for a free app, overall, I think this is pretty good. Tracking things like conversion rate over time is a really effective measure that you can see to make sure that you're getting the most value from your customers who are visiting your apps page. One thing that I think was really interesting is I did run Snapchat ads for the first time. I ran this video here. And then it added a swipe up link for you to go and install the app. Then I was making my money back by, once you're in the app, then it will give you option to upgrade to the pro version of the app. The ad did very well. It had over a 4% conversion rate. However, the data here tells us that yes, we had a lot of people come to the app, but the conversion rate was abysmal. In some cases, I was averaging 9, 10, 11, 12% per day, but when I was running the Snapchat ads, I was sometimes less than 1%. And if you don't know anything about ads or Snapchat, just know that that's really bad.
You suck!
Moving on to the Pro version, we can see that something interesting happened. Now, the goal of the Pro version was basically another way that I could increase revenue from having the app on the App Store and be able to make back my $100. When we look at the total sales from the Pro version, you can see that we're over $300 in sales. I know this may not be a huge number compared to the big app companies out there, but for someone like me who was just doing this as a proof of concept, I just think this is cool. You can see that the biggest time that I had sales was around Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think I was making somewhere around $50 to $60 a day at that time. So that was only a couple days, therefore it didn't last very long. It's also important to keep in mind that Apple and Google do take 30%. The sales number that you see from 314 already has the 30% Apple tax taken out of it, so therefore that's just profit right into my bank account. Another point is you see that spike on the end of the product views. This is when I was doing Snapchat ads. Instead of monetizing the free version, I thought, why don't I just try to go straight to the Pro version, see if people would be interested, and you can see that they weren't. I think I only had 2 sales for spending about $20 in ads, but hey, it's a learning experience. I learned it. Now we don't have to do it again. I really do enjoy doing things like this. I think these experiments really do teach you the price and, learn some basic economic skills at the same time. One thing I tried that did work is I increased the price of 99 cents to $2, and I actually had more downloads when this happened.
Hello, I like money.
I'm not entirely sure why, but as you can see, this is an inelastic demand because users aren't going to be driven by only 99 cents to not want to purchase something as an impulse purchase. They may say, oh, it's only 99 cents, oh, it's only $2. Sure, why not? Just go ahead and get it. When you multiply this effect across tons of other people, you have a pretty substantial profit there. I think it's that people perceive the price difference as, oh, I'm paying more for this, therefore it must be a better app. But in reality, you're getting the same quality of app regardless whether you pay 99 cents or $2. One thing that really did work, and I recommend other application developers to follow suit, is including a link to the Pro version in your free app. If you see here by sources, almost 70% of all of my sales came from web referrals. This in the case of me hard coding the address of the Pro version into the app and saying, do you want to upgrade? Another interesting piece of data that we see here is our app conversion rate was only 1.9%, but this makes sense because a lot of people are going to click on it and then maybe realize like, oh, this costs money, I don't want that. I do have the app integrated with Firebase, which allows me to see logging from the device. I have this outlined in the privacy policy that I am collecting user information. So if the user does create a deck, I'll see the name of the deck. I don't care about the contents of it, but I'm just curious to see what deck they're creating. That way I can learn what decks I should create in the future. Funny enough, I realized that this app was being used for education. Another thing that I'll do on the free version is I'll block off 2 to 3 decks and make these Pro only. That way the user has more incentive to want to upgrade to the Pro version. And I use Google Firebase to read analytics of what the most popular decks are from the previous week and then make those the paid version the next week. Again, this isn't really supposed to be some sort of cash grab. I'm just really interested in the data and the information because it makes good content. I also did try to clone this version and make a 17 plus, which had some more adult content in it. My goal was to make it PhraseCatch Dark, which featured more adult humor, because there's a lot of apps out there that do something similar to this. However, getting this approved through Apple's system was horrible. Essentially, they cited a whole bunch of instances where the content wasn't allowed when there were other apps that had way worse things. The reasoning for this being that those apps were grandfathered into the old system, but they weren't allowing any new content with foul language or anything that could be non-advertiser friendly. Overall, this is an entire bust. I think the app only has about 4 or 5 downloads, and they basically pushed it to the bottom of the pile. I think this was a really fun experiment. I'm really glad I was able to do something like this. I learned so much doing this, more so than what I learned in classes. I recommend that if you have the passion to create an app for the Apple App Store, that you just do it, because It's honestly a lot of fun seeing how many downloads you get. One thing I would be careful though is trying to over-optimize your app. I ran into this problem so much is where I would look at every single little detail and try ways that I could make it better, when in reality I actually just ended up hurting things. As with any great experiment, you only want to change one variable. That way you know the effects that one change has, and sometimes I didn't want to wait and I would just do 2, 3, 4 changes at a time and end up actually hurting myself with either ad revenue or sales. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you learned something. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of an app like this. I really just kind of made this was for fun. If you actually calculate how much money I'm making per hour, it's so little that this is just really what I really enjoy doing, and making a YouTube video on this was something that I wanted to do to hopefully inspire other people to try and do the same thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to click the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're interested. See you guys next time.